Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Education's committee meetings to order. We will start this evening with the Academic Services and Accountability Committee. Vice Chair Lamb.
Good evening. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting. I have a second. Second by Mr. Sharp. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Field trips, Mr. White.
So I have 3 field trips, 2 are overnight and 1's out of state. The first overnight is Nash Central High School, CTE Skills USA. We'll be traveling to Greensboro from April 23rd through the 25th. The second is overnight Rocky Mountain High School JRTC program, cadet training at Fayetteville State. That is June 16th through the 21st. And then we have one out of state, Parker Middle School, 7th grade social studies to Washington DC for a day trip. And that is for May 28th. And all the chaperones and male-female ratios are correct.
Any questions from Mr. White?
That DC trip, so what's the time they're leaving?
I'm sorry?
What time are they leaving?
It's 6 in the morning.
And they expect to return when? Same day?
9 at night.
Okay, and we're commuting with, how are we transporting them?
I'm sorry, AT&T charter.
Okay, all right, so you got a charter?
Yeah.
You got enough chaperones?
Got enough, plenty of chaperones.
Let me know if you need.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion to approve and present to the full board.
So approved, sir, so.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Sharp, second by Dr. Washington. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise.
I'll give you a comments.
Thank you.
We're gonna lock you up in Washington DC.
No, I got a house for that.
School links update, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson has changed.
That was Mr.
How about
Johnson.
Ms. Wells and Mr. Jeffers?
That
Okay.
was good.
We just want to provide you a quick update about school links. I'm sure you remember the why about the bill that's passed, and we have to provide an electronic platform. And so you can go to the next slide. We've taken care of that through school links. We will have a career development plan for all kids grades 7 through 12. School links is serving us well so far, and we are pretty happy with where we are. Next slide. Goes through the legislature, and honestly, if you're looking at this, I am sure whoever's passed this was a CTE person, because it says exactly the things that we would like to see in a bill, that the students should do some kind of self-assessment, exploration, it should align to the pathways. So it's doing everything we need it to do. Even when you get down to the end, the kids will have a career portfolio. So Mr. Jeffers is going to share with you where we are in school links at the moment.
All right, Ms. McQueen, if you advance a couple of slides, one more, please. Just one more. So over the last few weeks, we have begun to implement school links with our students.
Ms. Wells.
in our schools.
Right there.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So we began to implement school links within our schools with our students. So each of our schools have a school links team, which consists of a school administrator, a counselor, a career development coordinator, CTE teachers, and general ed teachers who've helped us implement this at the school level. So to date, we have had about 6,265 of our students who have been onboarded to the School Links platform. So that means they have all signed in, they have completed their first career/personality assessment, and they have set a career goal. So that's over 80% of our students in grades 6 through 12 who have done that. And so we're still working to finalize the implementation process of getting them all onboarded. So right now we are closing out March, so we're still in that School Links implementation/exploration phase. We hope to begin with our high school course planner in April. Then we will bring our School Links teams back together to get an idea of how the implementation went for their schools and where we head next with School Links. All right, so that's the update. Are there any questions for us regarding School Links?
What type of challenges are you having? Any challenges?
Right now, honestly, there are no major challenges. The biggest challenge is just making sure we get 100% of our students onboarded and acclimated to the system.
Are the parents also engaged and know this process, what's going on with it?
So we have begun to share the information with our parents. A lot of that is facilitated through our School Links teams. Mr. Thompson, I, and Ms. Wells met with Ms. Finch last week actually to talk about what our CTE website will look like and how we can make sure that the School Links information is also there so parents know how to access School Links.
And it's very easy for the parent to sign in. And what the parent sees is what the child sees, and they can also see any notes that any counselor puts in. So it really should be a more cohesive unit for parents and students.
Yes, and each student has like a unique claim code that's assigned to their School Links account. And so we'll work with our School Links team to make sure that they know where to access that to get to the parent if they haven't already.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wells. Mr. Jeffers?
Thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
Any more questions? I will adjourn the academic committee.
Well, thank you, Vice Chair Lamb. The next committee that will convene will be, is Ms. Thomas Bullock on, Mr. McLean? Will be the Student Support Services and Operations Committee, Mrs. Thomas Bullock.
Hi, yes, I will now call the Student Support Services and Operations Committee to order. I will take a roll call. Dr. Donovan Davis,
Here.
Dean Edwards,
Here.
Bill Sharp,
Yeah.
Mr. Ricky Jenkins.
Here.
All right. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 26th.
So moved.
Second.
All right. It has been properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we will go straight into it. We have first up for information only is Mr. Byer, followed by some action items with Mr. McQueen. So, Mr. Byer.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Thank you.
So I'd like to share with you some transportation updates this month. The DMV update from Fred Garner. Fred Garner conducted recertification for our drivers over the last few weeks. Driver who holds a Class B license with an S&P endorsement must undergo the recertification every 2 years to maintain the S endorsement on their license. He still hasn't gave me any plans on when he's gonna start testing. But once again, the DMV was just hired March 18th, so I expect a better update next month. Drivers. So in March, we experienced the departure of 4 drivers, which will have countywide effects. 2 of these drivers are from the southern side, while the other 2 were from the Rocky Mount area. To address these challenges proposed by these departures, we have assigned a substitute driver to a morning AM full-time morning route and combined routes and recruited 2 bus monitors. Drivers needed by location. Currently at Southern Nash High, we need 8 drivers. Southern Nash Middle, we need 5 drivers. Northern Nash Central both experience a shortage of 4 drivers each, and Rocky Mount area requires additional 5 drivers to meet their needs. So new buses for 2024-25 school year. A bus is eligible for replacement with the state funds based on its age and miles. It qualifies if either 20 years old or been operating for 250,000 miles. Fun fact, transportation right now is replacing buses with new ones. These buses predated the founding of Facebook, the launch of YouTube, and the victory of the Boston Red Sox in their first World Series.
That's not
That's some old buses. Nash County is set to receive 15 new school buses, 10 supplied from Thomas, and the remaining from Bluebird. After their arrival, we will equip them with the GPSs, cameras, and radios before deploying them on the road for the 2024-25 school year. The total cost of these buses, $2,223,205. Funding for these purchases will be provided by the DPI. All right, North Carolina Bus Rodeo returns to the fairgrounds. This was something that we had before COVID, and they stopped it at COVID. But the North Carolina Bus Rodeo is an annual event that unites bus drivers from all corners of the state. Offering them a performance to demonstrate their expertise and participate in the range of the challenges. The rodeo is organized in the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and is designed to promote safety, professionalism, and the excellence in the bus transportation. During the bus rodeo, bus drivers will participate in a series of skill-based events that test their driving abilities. These events include obstacle courses, parallel parking challenges, the precision of driving exercise. The drivers are judged based on their accuracy, technique, and adhere to safety. Winners of the North Carolina Bus Rodeo, who are recognized for their outstanding performance and dedication to their craft. The event highlights the importance of bus transportation in the community and its crucial role that bus drivers play in ensuring the best safety and well-being of their passengers, right? Overall, the North Carolina Bus Rodeo is an exciting, engaging event that celebrates the skills and professionalism of bus drivers in the state. Well, any questions?
Yes, do we have a local bus rodeo before they go to the state?
So this year, the DPI waited too late to organize the state. The state bus rodeo is actually June 12th. And usually you're gonna go through the local first, then you're gonna go through the district, and then you go to the state. Well, right now, we don't have enough time to do the district and the state. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, I offered it to all the drivers, and then they want us to pick drivers with no accidents, of course, for 12 months, a good attendance record, and the best drivers who act the best, be professional.
I hope it gets back to like it was before, because years past, it was a big thing in the district. The drivers really look forward to attending. That was one of their highlights, and, you know, got rewarded pretty good with a meal and stuff like that.
Ever since I've been here, they've been asking for it to come back.
And also, I'd like, drivers needed by location, is that shared anywhere other than with us? Is that on our website, or is it converted and shared with the newspaper or whatever? That might be interesting to put on our website.
No, it's not shared by location. I could probably get with Heather and.
I think that would be, explains why some buses are late, whatever.
Exactly. Anyone
But,
else?
yeah, I got a couple.
Okay.
And it's gonna blend in with the demerger process. I'm sure Ellis will talk about a little bit later. We're talking about giving up some of our buses to Edgecombe,
Correct.
and we're talking about buying new buses. Have we worked out the logistics and the buses that's gonna be transferred over? I know they didn't have parking spaces or size were incompatible.
Yes,
Have we worked through that?
Yes, I already spoke to DPI and they working it out. Wilson parked over 30 buses in the past 2 years just because they didn't have drivers. And majority of them buses are coming from Wilson, because it's the right size that Edgecombe needs.
Okay.
And then, we'll probably end up losing some just because of they're saying our driving force is gonna go down, but I don't see it going down right now. But they're talking about maybe 2 or 3. That's one thing DPI, they don't like you to have too many buses, or they don't want us to have, too many and too short buses.
My second question is related to the, we put in a program last year regarding TAs, driving buses. How's that progressing? Is that backfilling some of the ones that we need to?
Well, once again, we were, waiting for the DMV to hire somebody. And of course, they've been behind. They
Right.
actually just got someone hired and they actually come from, Nash County Public Schools. So hopefully that will help us out.
So do we have people in place
We
ready
have-
to, once the trigger's pulled or
We have,
released?
right now, I think if we haven't lost any, it was a total of 72 TAs that are looking for their license. I'll probably have to go over that number and double check,
Okay,
but that was, a while back. We had 72 waiting on the list.
so that should help offset some of the shortage that we got.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Just
Any other questions?
one more. Looking into the future, are you seeing any push for the state or from the state to start looking at electric buses?
They were pushing them hard when I first got here. And then all of a sudden I didn't hear anything else about them. And it was mainly because of, the bus companies, were having difficulties with the buses. So I'm expecting probably within the next 5 years, we're gonna be pushing it again a whole lot harder. And they might be ready. I know that Thomas, for example, they lost their battery supplier. They went bankrupt. They actually had to buy them out. And then they come to find out they redone the battery in the bus. And I asked them, I said, well, what about the buses that you already built? Are you gonna replace them with these new batteries? They said, no. So, because a battery for one of them buses costs between $80,000 to $100,000.
Right.
It's not like a motor you can go down and buy for 20 grand and put in here.
And if one starts burning, it burns different.
And you buy 5 or 6 of them at one time, they all go off at the same time. Big thing.
Oh, it's huge expense, that and mechanics and infrastructure. It's just making sure that we weren't going that way just yet.
A lot of the districts that bought them did not have the charging station capabilities when they bought the buses. That was some of the issues. So you had to rework the whole wiring
They were
system.
spending more money on the infrastructure,
Right.
like you said, than the buses actually cost.
Just make sure we're.
Well, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. And after Mr. McLean, we will see Mr. Howard.
Good evening. All right, well, I'm here tonight to seek your approval for some software contracts. The first being Microsoft renewal contract, and this is an existing software that we currently use. The financial impact of this software is around $100,458. The superintendent is requesting that this item be approved as presented.
I make a
All right,
motion. I make a motion that we approve the item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Sharp, seconded by Dr. Chavis. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, it is approved to go before the full board as presented. Mr. McQueen, you go on to your next item.
All right, Lightspeed is also a current software that we are using, and the financial impact is $106,210, and as well, the superintendent is recommending the approval of this item presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a question.
Yes.
Question two.
So I'm noticing it's being paid through ESSER funds this year. What would be the plan for it for next year?
That is being talked about and planned right now, but I don't have an answer for you right now, but it's in the making. I knew that was gonna be a question. Yes, sir.
Does Brightspeed have any competition?
Yes, the competition is Go Guardian, that's one of them. The other competition, there are several competitions, but this right here seems to be the best that works for us. Matter of fact, there is a particular module in this software that allows teachers to look at their entire class, all of the Chromebooks in their class at one time. So if a person is is out of character and not doing what they're supposed to do, the teacher can lock that machine and get that student back on task. So that has been very helpful. Yes, sir.
So that's a great observation, because my question was gonna lead into that. In a few words, Lightspeed software, it sounds like it's a monitoring software for,
It's more,
so what's the main purpose of that software?
it's modules within this software. Number one, it's mainly a content filter. So basically, yeah, you understand what I'm saying? So the other thing is classroom, for the teacher to manage the classroom. There's another piece that we're gonna use this year, that the state is pushing a third-party software vendor, just to make sure that they have all the criteria. So with this particular module, what it does, it'll go out there and check all of the criteria of the vendors that we are bringing, and making sure that it lines up with the state recommendations.
So we have not had that type of software previously.
We're currently using it. This is a renewal.
The one we got right now,
Yes.
we've never used anything but this one.
That's right, that's correct.
Okay, any other questions? So I will, and did we have a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And a second. So it was moved by Mr. Sharp and seconded by Dr. Chavis. So at this time, all in favor, please vote with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, so it is, we'll go before the full board.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Washington, Vice Chair, Mr. Lamb, board members, Dr. Ellis. I'll briefly provide you with the status of the Village Meals to Men Mentoring Program. The following information is used for information purposes only. The mission of the Village Males to Men Mentoring Program is to empower at-risk male youth in our community to make positive life choices that enable them to maximize their personal potential. Our vision, the Village Males to Men Mentoring Program, envisions a community in which male youth experience nurturing one-to-one relationships and community support, which in turn allows each of them to develop into their full potential, capable of making informed, responsible decisions as involved members of our community. Just a brief review of our identification, student criteria. Each year, our comprehensive high schools work to select 12 to 15 male youth that are prone to economic, medical, employment, educational, and legal inequalities. These young men will be first-time freshmen, young men that have shown leadership and academic capacity, male youth who have shown an interest in career, military, trade, or collegiate opportunities. But the village will not serve as a dumping ground for the most challenged behaviors. This summer, the village team, principals, principal designees, deans of students took time to put together a year at a glance. The theme that was decided upon was the winner within. And that is our theme for this school year. The game plan is to dress like a winner each Thursday or Wednesday of the week at each school. Our semester one events last year, if you recall, we got rolling second semester with our activities and our college experiences, but we were fortunate to get started first semester. So our first college visit was to East Carolina University. That was two particular groups. Rocky Mount and Southern Nash participated in that event on November 2nd, and Northern Nash, Tar River, and Nash Central participated on October 31st. We combined the career and college fair just to decrease the amount of days that our young men are out of school, so we combined that event first semester to where the college and career fair was hosted at Nash Community College at the Brown Auditorium. The young men also had an opportunity to do a behind the scenes tour. We have a few pictures that really showcases what that looks like. Second semester events, college visit to Fayetteville State University was February 21st, and a great experience last week at NC Wesleyan on March 20th. Our final two events for this school year, our second annual leadership summit will be hosted at Word Tabernacle Thursday, April 11th, and the end of the year ceremony will be hosted at the Browns Auditorium, Nash Community College on May 22nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Currently, these are the totals, the total for our mentee count per each of our comprehensive high schools, as well as Tar River. Rocky Mount High School, a total of 20 mentees. Nash Central, a total of 15. Northern Nash High School, a total of 25. And Southern Nash High School, a total of 20. And Tar River, a total of 3, which puts our total at 83. As a reminder, we were fortunate to receive a grant from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation this year. Those funds were used to purchase 2 resources. One was the Other Westmore book, and the other was 101 Things That Young Men Should Know. But they used the Other Westmore book as a book study for this school year. Here's a photo of our young men dressing like a winner. That's Rocky Mount and Nash Central. Couple of pictures of our young men at East Carolina. I'm excited about the opportunity for the college career fair next year at Nash Community because I think there was some challenges with connecting with the right resources at Nash Community. And now that a lot of the instructors know and see who's participating in the village, they're more eager and excited to tag team and collaborate for this upcoming year. So that's exciting. So they were really excited about it. I couldn't tell why they came back so excited about this mannequin. And so I was able to see once I saw the images. We had approximately 18 to 19 members from the business community. I was eager to try to tap about 40. But like I said, next year we will have more members to represent at that particular college event. You see, we have representatives from the military, and Dr. Honeycutt opened us up. So, mentoring sessions. This is the Rocky Mount mentee group here. They're working on the tie-tying ceremony or session. And of course, you have Northern Nash mentees here with Governor Cooper. The gentleman here on the right, Dobson Dillon, actually graduated from Northern Nash, now works with Governor Cooper and his team. And these young men invited, and also he has confirmed to be the keynote speaker at the Leadership Summit. So that is something that the young men themselves work to recruit one of the members from the governor's team. So, and here's our one and only Dr. Steve Ellis with our young men there. Your Northern Nash mentees, Ms. Tracy Spence, and the Dean of Students here in the middle, Ms. Felicia Faison. Images from our last year's Leadership Summit. And so just a quick, this year Leadership Summit, our session, we will have 4 breakout sessions to reduce the amount of young men in each group. Last year we had 3 breakout sessions with the panel. We're going to break that up to try to decrease the amount of young men that we have in each group. So one breakout session will be hosted by Dr. Anthony McGahee. He will support us with soft skills and timeless manners, some things that our young men need to work on. Breakout session 2 will be hosted by Ms. Carolyn Aycock, making sure that our young men understand the proper use of social media platforms. Breakout session 3 will be hosted by Victor Jones, the 411 on illegal substances. And breakout session 4 will be hosted by Mr. Tavis Richardson, making the right choices. And those 4 participants will also participate in our panel discussion this school year as well. And like I said, last week was a great experience. NC Westland rolled out the red carpets for us. I really appreciated that. And I want to thank the Communications Department for getting us going with one of our promotionals. You know, it took a kind of off the cuff, but thank you. And Mr. Tremaine, if you would.
I saw my friends at school, they were talking about it, going to some boys only program. And I was like, what was that? So I just started asking around. It's called The Village, and I talked to Ms. Benson about it.
With me being Mama Face, and I expect greatness from them. I oversee the village on a day-to-day basis. I have 26 male students. I don't look at them as mentees, I look at them as another son.
There's a lot of my generation, they don't have figures in their life, like they may not have their father or their parents, they may be with their grandparents or anything, so a mentor could be that person in their life and help them get through the problems they are going through right now.
What I mostly enjoy about the program is it's a lot of support from everybody around you, mentees and mentors, everybody. We come together and we make sure that we're all on the same page.
I think the Village Mentoring Program has been fun and it's helped me mature in life, and I think more people should join.
My memorable experience since I've joined is when we went to Nash Community College and they gave us a tour, and that day they had CPR procedure on the mannequin doll.
The colleges they ask us like what we want to be when we grow up and all the different stuff, and they show us like all the different things we have to choose from, like what career we want to pursue.
The fire department, nursing, the medical field, be a public speaker. It was about two young men, Westmore, had the same name, came up from two different struggles. They had two different lifestyles, but they came up but they chose different pathways. One was more successful, but one took a shaky pathway. From the book, I took that no matter where you came from, it doesn't determine what you are going to become. It's all about how you grow from your situation.
You realize that the different path you take when you're younger will influence how you come out when you're older. If I did something that I shouldn't be doing because of peer pressure, that could affect my future to where I couldn't be something I was supposed to be.
If you don't trust yourself and think about it, if you don't encourage yourself, you don't got nothing, bro. It's you gotta encourage yourself. You gotta keep pushing yourself 24/7.
So we're still work in progress, but thank you. Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just have to say, congratulations on a very job well done. You can see it's gonna make a difference. Are there, and maybe I do have a question, are we gonna follow up and see a few years from now where some of these young men actually
Absolutely.
turn out?
Absolutely, yeah. My pinky in the brain scheme is that when those young men become seniors, that they will help us mentor the freshmen. So that'll help us with community mentors. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. Thank you, Mr. Howard, but this is directed to Dr. Ellis. First of all, I want to say thank you for bringing the mentorship to Nash County. It's probably one of the best things that we've done, except on the school board. So because of what your leadership, your direction, thank you for that. The other thing is, while I'm hearing a lot of feedback, mentoring for men are great, but what about mentoring our women? So we got a lot of opportunities for our ladies. So have we looked at programs to do that, and what, maybe you can comment on that.
So that is probably phase 2 of what we're trying to get together, but we're looking into it.
Thank you.
And they're ready too, they're asking, so, yes.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Howard? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Howard. I really appreciate all your hard work. And at this time, if there are no other questions or discussion, I will adjourn.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas Bullock. Our final committee to convene on this evening is the Administrative Services and Operations Committee. Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. I will call the Administrative Services and Operations Committee to order. First item on the agenda is just the agenda review. And Mr. Weber, I was going to ask, we had a late addition to our agenda. I was just going to move it up and then allow Mrs. Saunders to present all of her budget pieces. Do I need to amend that agenda, or can I kind of go through it as?
You could ask for a motion to amend the agenda, or if there's no objection, you can proceed along those lines.
Okay, real quickly, with our board committee members, we have Mrs. Bullock present, we have Franklin Lamb present, we have Dr. Chavis present, and do we have Zach Gray with us?
You're asking, okay.
Asking anyone who might know, it doesn't have to be you, Tremaine.
Ms. Bullock is gone.
He's not.
That's not, okay, but we're good, we're all right to proceed with the quorum. So I guess I will make the motion to amend the agenda. We're just moving item 7 up behind item number 3. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Franklin? Aye. So the motion carries. Thank y'all. So we've got minutes from our February meeting. That was February 26th. If you have a minute to take those, they were included in your board package. If I can get a motion to approve. Franklin? A second from Dr. Chavis. Any discussion around the attached minutes? All those in favor, vote by the sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Our first item on the agenda then is Dr. Ellis's report on our demerger. I think to this point, we've kind of walked through facilities, the RIF steps, some of the financial implications, and tonight we're going to at least touch on ORED and some of that reporting, which I know is going to be driving a lot of what we're doing. So if you want to go ahead and present.
So what we did last month, we're gonna kind of update it again. So what you'll see is some facility planning, some talk of ORED, some timelines, and we'll move forward. So can someone click that one? So Ms. Miller, if you could come and give an update, and then each department, just, if you have any questions, I don't know if you want to save it to the end or while they're up here, that's your call.
We'll just save until the end if that's all right.
Okay.
Want to run through it all?
Good evening. I'm just going to share with you a little bit about the facility plan update for Rocky Mount Middle. Our team's been working very diligently to try to get in front of some of the changes between now and July. So they've completed new ceiling tile and LED lighting in the 500 hallway at Rocky Mount Middle School. If you look to the far right picture, you'll see the ceiling tile, the lighting, and the walls have been painted. That's a part of the old Rocky Mount High School that has not been used in the past on the 500 wing. So all of that has been renovated. Painted the hallways. Mechanical equipment, if you see on the first slide, you'll see that they have installed the mechanical equipment on the roof. That updates that 500 hall as well. The technology update has already taken place and has been completed on that hallway. Again, it was far overdue, but we were not using that area. And something that we mentioned at some of the parent meetings was the tennis courts have not been usable or accessible even when Rocky Mount High School was there. They're out back past the baseball, softball. It's a little hop, skip, and a jump. But anyway, they're going to be refurbished and completely redone. It will still be just 4 courts, but Edwards has had a tennis team for many years. And Rocky Mount has been offering it, and they just haven't had the numbers. So anticipating that, it will all be on-site, all athletic activities. And the contract is being prepared at this time for the tennis courts. Thank you. Continuing with the facility plan, completing the plumbing fixtures and ceiling tiles in all the restrooms. That is the middle picture. The middle picture. After some walkthroughs, we noticed that several of the fixtures and things were outdated. So just paint, new ceiling tiles, and updating fixtures on those. The 400 hall, updating the LED lights. I don't know if y'all noticed when you walked in here. Could you tell the difference in the lighting? It's significantly different with LEDs. So that is what you will see in some of this. We had discussions of dropping ceilings and adding lighting, but with painting the ceiling, if you see in the far left, right picture, the painted ceilings and updating the lights that are already in place has saved us a significant amount of money, and the lighting is exceptional. The auditorium I mentioned to you some time ago, we got some contracts and some bids on that. We're going to be making some modifications, but some are going to be different than what we discussed initially. That's the handicap lift that's in place. That'll be updated for the auditorium. We're still researching and doing bids on some of the other work in the auditorium. It's gone up significantly, so we're looking at that. Phase 1 of the windows that we have discussed, that pre-bid takes place on 4/9, and that will be, a survey will be completed at that time for the phase 1. There are multiple phases, so that is going to be a work in progress. New lockers have been ordered for the main gym. They were significantly outdated and damaged. Some did not work, so they have been looked at and refurbished, what can be refurbished, but there'll be some new lockers. You see the bottom left picture, is the gym office that many years ago was used as an office space. It hasn't been able to be used. They've used some parts of that, but there was a ceiling issue that was some damage years ago that just had not been updated. So our team has put new carpet in place, fixed the ceiling, and done some painting. That looks quite different. I wish I had it before and after. And then on Nash Street, the gate that has been there for many, many years, sometimes works, sometimes does not. And there's been some question about, was that a safety issue? I can just tell you, I can speak personally, at certain times of the day when you drive through there, last week there were 4 buses and 2 or 3 vehicles, and it was very congested. So that would be an issue for students. So the gate will help monitor that, so people can't just drive through. It has to be a bus, or it will be one of our badge accesses. So that's just going to be updated as well. Williford, we've had many walkthroughs. One of the things that you guys brought us up to speed on and was a concern, when you walk in the main entrance, to the right is where the pre-K kids are. So the maintenance team has already jumped on that, and that far right picture is of the entrance. They now have the doors that separate the pre-K students from the rest of the staff, or the rest of the students, so that when we have all staff and we have training facilities, that is already in place. They're in the process of putting the badge access now. And during spring break, they're going to put the service window in. That'll be a service window if I'm one of the pre-K students and I walk to the office, instead of having to go out and into the office and I'm just turning in something to the administration, there'll be a window there that I can access to turn that in, which will be good for the students. Completed separation doors. Okay, I just mentioned that. The parking lot that I have mentioned to you before in that area was going to be usable for the NETA students as well, or the NETA staff. We had done that prior to some of these changes, and that'll be in the back parking lot, and that was already a work in progress. That's going to be done over spring break. Carpet for the offices have been ordered, and then the painted bathroom. We noticed because we all use different student restrooms when we go into facilities, and that's what brought us up to speed on some of the Rocky Mount Middle School. This was an outdated restroom as well, with paint and new updates that have been put in place already. And the far left is, you probably remember me mentioning that they were going to separate some offices and classrooms when we move some of our staff in there, and as well, NETA has got some separations with some curtains now. We've already put those in place in several of those and have ordered them for others. Put a few in place just to make sure it would meet the needs of the teachers and the administration, and they like them. So we've ordered the rest of them. And it doesn't interfere with the HVAC system either. So that's working out very well. Edwards, the pre-bid for the plumbing fixtures, and we're still waiting for DPI and the comments. We check on that weekly. Dennis has done a really good job leading that charge, and he's reached out to DPI weekly. They have gone through several phases of it, but we're waiting for the final approval from DPI before we move right into that. The playground equipment has been ordered and is already expected delivery. We've also went ahead and pre-planned for the fencing for the playground to get that in place first, so that when the playground comes, we can go ahead and have that safely secured. And that contract is being executed at this time. There was one thing that I think I shared with you early on about the abatement of floor tile. It's not broken, it's not going to be an issue, but we do not remove any of that when students are in place. So we wait until the students are gone, and we're going to do that in the summer. And that was in place even prior to us deciding to move that to elementary school. And I mentioned that in our parent meetings as well. Okay, the City High, I'll speak to this briefly. The plan is to move City High to Nash Community College. Many of you probably remember the early college initially had some modular units at the back. So this will be one modular unit where there used to be 4. It is like a triple the size of one of those modular units. We have already shown this to the administrative staff as well. It will have offices. They will do PLCs in that. They're large offices where there'll be teams, the math, science, English, they've got different areas. The administration will be in that as well, and there will be a large conference room that will also be used as a student learning and lab area. And then there are 5 classrooms in the main Nash Community College building that Dr. Ellis has worked with Dr. Honeycutt on. I'm not sure, do you want to add anything else to that, Dr. Ellis?
That would be it.
Okay. And next will be Human Resources. We're taking questions at the end of all of them, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Good evening. So I'm going to update you on the human resources projections as we have them right now. So we are still awaiting the plan and allotments from DPI. This will determine how many positions that we may lose due to the demerger and a reduction in our ADM. We are projected to receive this position allotments around the 1st of April. We have been working with DPI very closely, trying to get an idea of what percentage they may cut, but they're just getting numbers from us right now. They're also working with Edgecombe County as well. Right now, based on the intent survey results, we have 63 displaced teaching positions. Those are those teachers that are willing or wanting or desiring to remain in our district after the demerger takes place. We do have 10 displaced EC teaching positions as well, and they would like to reside in the district. Currently, keeping up with our vacancies, we do have 96 certified vacancies. This includes resignations, retirements, some non-renewals, and we have been managing those with the assistance of Kelly Services and some retirees. We do have 150 alternative license, and we will have a better estimate closer to May about how many of those that may not be renewed. So next steps for the RIF, we are waiting for the approval of the redistricting lines. The plan and allotments, as I just stated, are needed for the 24-25 school year. We aren't allowing transfers at this time, and that's a result of the intent where some staff members want to transfer from one school to the next or another position of the next. We feel like it's going to convolute what we're trying to do in terms of getting a true area of vacancies. We will determine which positions may be reduced and how many. We will, after we have determined those positions and the number, we will come back to the board and seek approval. And once approved, the criteria will be used to determine who may be reduced, and the employees will be notified. We're also working with communications to create a FAQ with all of the questions that we're getting, and that will be posted on the website after the last meeting in the district on the 28th. This is just a tentative timeline. Hopefully we'll be able to go ahead of this timeline. In the event we cannot, April 8th through 12th, we will calculate the allotments. April 15th through 19th, the plan and allotment meetings will take place with the principals. April 22nd through 26th, we'll determine which positions may be reduced. May 6th, seek board approval, and May 7th through 14th, notify staff.
Good evening. For the students' transfers, for our legacy students, legacy letters went out on February 26th. On March 22nd, that was the deadline for our current rising 10th through 13th graders to opt into the legacy process. This also includes legacy student siblings. At the time, we had 140 legacy students who had applied. That number as of Friday on March 22nd was 208. I had a conversation with Ms. Harvey this morning. Of that 208, we know we had at least one freshman or rising freshman who would not qualify for the legacy process. We had several students who had completed the wrong form. Either they were already living in our attendance zone, or they would qualify as a legacy student, but they filled out the wrong form. So that's why we're waiting till April 9th to make sure that we have an official roster for our legacy students, because we know that there's some cleaning up of that data that we're going to have to do.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. So the only update that we have here for finance is last committee meeting, we brought forth the changes in state. Jermaine, if you'll click on that there, link. We brought forth the changes or the anticipated changes for our state funds. This one is going to highlight the huge difference we'll have in our local funds. So this is something that I will be talking about later on. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it until later if that's all right.
Good evening. Just to bring you up to speed to where we are in our next steps with ORED and redistricting. Of course, the month of March, the consultants have given us our maps, yay. And individual board members, you have received presentations on those maps. Most of you have anyway. And so we will continue with that in terms of your reviewing of those boundaries. The next step also will be to present this to our principals. In fact, that will happen on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Dr. Ellis has scheduled a presentation with the consultants for 9 o'clock to introduce to our cabinet and our principals. The month of April, we will be seeking feedback from the communities on their boundaries and maps, while you're getting that feedback as well, and possibly continue to make any revisions based on that feedback. And then in May, hopefully we'll go before the full board for a final approval and vote. Thank you.
So I put up here the last slide is just the unknowns, and we talked to principals last week at the K-12 meeting, and the way this looks for me and cabinet is we got to approve these lines first. So just make sure you attend those meetings. If you have comments, make sure we get them, because those lines are going to really dictate allotments. And if you've been to these meetings, you'll see a school might have gained 150 or lost 100. That's going to be a big adjustment to the allotment piece that Ms. Wallace and her crew is going to really need. The legacy student, we were a little worried last week, but we are kind of excited that we have 200 now that have filled that out, because I have to get that number to the county commissioners, because that would be the gap piece that someone else is going to pay based on those students being in our schools, because those are the leftover Edgecombe students. So I need to get that to them. Then you're going to start getting these funding calculations where a certain school has a certain amount of students. And that's when we have to meet with these principals to start letting them know how many teachers, clerical, TAs, once we get all these maps done. And then, to me, then you would start that opening and that transfer process, because we're on a hiring freeze right now, because we're waiting to see how many of those teachers are coming over, which means you got to match certifications. A whole lot of things have to be secured before we can even think about how we even talk about a RIP. Once this all plays out, we tell those groups we're meeting with, this might not happen, we don't know. But until all those allotments have been pushed, the lines have been approved, certifications are done, resignations, retirements, then the RIF would be the last conversation we would have. Okay. So if you have any questions for anyone that presented, please, this would be the time.
Dr. Chavis?
Was a comment thanking our communication person for an excellent job in reminding, because I know you all probably got all those Connect Ed calls about the deadline. Thank you, so that parents won't be calling saying we didn't know. And my other question was quite simple: with the City High March or moving to the early college or to the community college, will they be intermingling with our current students there, or will it be totally separate?
Right now, they would be. It's like, I think it's Building B is, there are some classes already in Building B, I believe it is, Ms. Mel, that some of our early college students are already there.
Right.
So we're trying to keep them on one hall, which is what we're trying to
Gotcha.
do. And that's been the interesting part dealing with the community college.
I can imagine. That was my question.
Is it Building D?
Is it D or C?
D.
Dr. Chavis?
Directly in front. Right, I know where it is. I just couldn't remember the letter too, but we've toured it. Thank you. Those are my questions.
All right. Next, more questions for Dr. Ellis and his staff? I know you jotted them down.
Actually, there's a whole lot of questions going on, and I'm thinking, I hope I don't forget them all. First of all, Mrs. Miller, thank you so much for the update. One of the things that we've talked about, a lot of parents has talked about in that section of town, is the cosmetics and the safety of those buildings. You talk about, how long that, you talk about window phases, 1, 2, 3, you didn't talk about how long. But when do you anticipate those windows to be completed? I know you got several phases.
It will take some time for that. The first phase being right in the center part where there were several of the building that were cracked. That's gonna be phase one, some of which is in a building that probably will not be touched till the very end, and it may take up to a year. It depends on how long it takes to get the actual windows in. Keep in mind, it took 3 to 4 months for us to get some of them in for another school that we did. So that's really gonna determine this funding piece, the money. We gotta have true numbers to know where that funding is gonna be. So some of it's a waiting game. We're hoping to have a majority of that done as soon as school starts with phase one. And then after that, it's gonna depend on how the funding shakes out.
My next question was basically, are you guys working alongside the Parents Alliance team over at Rocky Mount Middle School? Because they're talking through the dilapidated houses in the area. They have concerns for that. So I know they're working with the city, with the county, city council, working with them. Are we working in conjunction, maybe having communications with that as well?
At this time, I have not had any of those conversations. We are doing the phases just as we talked about in the parent meetings and what that had to look like to get ready for our kids. And we've got some parents that want to take tours, some of which Dr. Dupree has met their individual needs. I don't want him to be overwhelmed, to be honest with you. We want to get these updates in place before we start having open houses, but I have not had any of those meetings with any of the community members.
So are they communicating with Dr. Dupree, or they?
You mean the
communicating-
parents?
Yes, ma'am.
A couple of the parents have reached out to him directly, and they are getting an individual, that he's getting answers for them. Otherwise, we have told them in some of our communications is we will do parent meetings and parent orientations as soon as we get true numbers and we get some of the updates done. We can't do some of it while kids are in the building.
Because if you guys recall, when we had those on-site meetings, there were a couple of parents that had major concerns. I had communications with some of them, and they actually got excited after our conversation because they met Dr. Dupree, and they're excited about what he was doing. So I want to make sure we follow up with that and make sure that those parents who had those anxieties are refreshed with it.
Okay, I thought you asked that a little differently at the beginning. So I hadn't met with community meetings and parents, but yeah, I haven't met with them. But the individual parents that have reached out to us, we've told them we will have a parent orientation, but it will not be until we get closer to school time because we want them to be able to see the school. There's been 2, I know, probably more, that have reached out to Dr. Dupree. They've met and took a tour and have had it very good feedback. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My last question, I think, is gonna be on Edwards. You know, we're transferring that from middle school to elementary school. You talked about the plumbing side of that. When do you anticipate completion of that plumbing?
We want everything complete before they start school. So our goal is to have everything in place for the elementary students before the first day of school.
So we'll start that process when school closes.
We're already starting some of that. We're gonna get with Ms. Love, once all the equipment comes in, and we're gonna do one restroom at the time. But the majority of that will be done, from the time school's out before school starts.
Dr. Ellis, the one that you talked about with the lines that we're talking through, you're having meetings with the principal, those are just for information only, because we haven't made a decision as far as how that's.
Correct.
Okay, so you're keeping them abreast. All right, thank you.
They needed to see the lines because when you start, I mean, you've seen the numbers, they're gonna start shifting, so.
Right.
They needed to know what that also could look like with an allotment piece and all the other information to share.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question, Dr. Ellis and his staff. You know, as Dr. Ellis has said many times, not only have we never done this, nobody's ever done it, so, please take a minute. You know, I know we kind of moved through it quickly in the board meeting, so in committee, if y'all have got questions, need clarity, if parents are reaching out, now is the time. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 7, Human Resources and Finance Policy Review. Or not.
Are you gonna speak to it?
Am I gonna speak to it?
I mean,
I'll be glad to speak to it.
I'll speak to it. So item number 7, Human Resources and Finance Policy Review. Attached, board members, you'll see a contract as the board unanimously voted to hire a consultant to come in and look at our procedures and practices at our last closed session. The contract for those services is attached there.
Dr. Watt, it wasn't a unanimous.
That's right, because I voted against that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was it unanimous? I want to make sure we put it on the record.
Correct the record, no worries. All right.
So I have a comment. Do I get to speak?
Yeah, I
Okay.
know you had some comments around this, so if you're ready, please.
So I have a suggestion for the board. I didn't receive this information until last Thursday. So I'm just getting it. So what I would suggest is that board members would just email me issues, concerns, or whatever you have with any of those departments. I think Dr. Washington sent me something this morning, but I think that's the only thing I've received. So then in closed session the next Monday, after we get back from break, I would have a detailed list of all those concerns so I could address it in closed session. And then possibly some of your concerns could be answered. But I think that probably would be the most fair thing in my opinion, first. Because I didn't know anything about this one, so I'm gonna need some time.
Mr. Sharp?
For the record, because we did have that discussion, and my question to my colleagues was, have you communicated this to Dr. Ellis? There was a lot of conversation that went on around it, but Dr. Ellis and his team knew nothing about it. So I thought that was it was an end around play, because there was a lot of questions, a lot of things discussed at that meeting, which I thought should have been directed to him and his team first. We do not need to get an outside firm hiring the team, paying money when we haven't really went to the source itself.
Thank you, Bill. Any other comments? Before I call for the vote, just the one thing I will add is please familiarize yourself with this document. It's only 4 pages. It's not going to take you all night to read it, so that you know the scope of the work that is going to be performed versus the scope of the questions that we would hopefully get to Dr. Ellis. I don't know if we can ask one thing of one group that we're not asking of the other group. So let's make sure we get Dr. Ellis as much information as we can. He has time to prepare. We have time to listen to that, but then also it needs to fall in line with what we are then asking another group to prepare for us. I think is the best way to say that. So if there's no other discussion, no other comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve this request.
So moved.
Dr. Chavis, do we have a second? Second. All those in favor, please vote.
Question, please.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Before
Dr. Ellis's comments. I was in favor of this. I think it's something that we need to do. But I think if he feels that we have not offered the questions to support this move, then I think we need to give him that opportunity to answer the questions before we proceed with this.
Okay.
That would be my take on that, and that would be the reason for my no vote. Not because I think this is such a bad thing, but I think we do need to follow procedure.
Kind of the cart before the horse a little bit.
A little.
Okay, thank you.
Can we not vote to put this as an agenda item in the next meeting, since we do have closed session before the regular meeting?
So we have a motion and a second, so I think we need to vote what stands on the floor at the minute, unless Dr.
I have
Chavis
a
is
question.
about to.
Should I rephrase my motion to include the time for reconciliation of questions for our superintendent prior to this, or would that be?
Let me just
Okay.
answer him real quick, and then what I was gonna say is, I mean, this is just a recommendation coming out of committee. We still have closed session, then we still go into the board meeting, where if it was to be recommended now, we would still vote on it then again at that point. So we haven't done anything until we meet the 8th in as a full board. But I mean, we can certainly act however the committee feels like we need to at this time. Donovan, did that?
Well, my question would be, should I rephrase that to put in the phrase in lieu of questions provided to our superintendent to address prior to this action?
I'll defer, but I would just think it's going to go to a vote for the board. Those questions are going to drive how that vote goes.
I would agree with Mr. Dunn. Since your regular board meetings are scheduled with the work session, that includes the closed session, and then the regular board meeting. If the board felt after the work session and the closed session that this was no longer needed, a member could make a motion to remove it from the agenda. It could be easily dealt with that way.
Okay, so again, we've got a motion, we've got a second. I think I need to call the vote on that, unless you're withdrawing it or something along those lines.
Who made the second?
We have to vote. Sorry.
Yeah, we have to.
I did.
He made a second.
I did. So all those in favor, please vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Is that Franklin? All those opposed?
No.
No, so 3. So we have a voice call vote. Dr. Chavis?
Aye.
Mrs. Bullock?
No.
Yes. Mr. Lamb? And I'm a yes, so 3 and 1 to pass. That'd be great.
So I want to make sure I'm clear on what we're doing. So you will bring this to the full board at the April 8th meeting. We have that discussion. At which time are you referring to at a closed session on the 8th, we'll talk through this item? Because I'm looking at my attorney right now, because he brought that up.
Yeah, so again, what we are going to do pretty quickly is get Dr. Ellis a list of questions, concerns, things that this reporting is going to cover. He is going to research that, bring whatever documentation or information is needed to close session prior to our board meeting, and we're going to discuss it at length.
He has those questions.
And he can have more, correct? I mean,
correct.
we can send more.
That's my point too. It's just that the way your regular meetings are set up, you really have 2 meetings. You have a work session and your regular board meeting. Your work session includes your closed session, so you would not have considered or approved the agenda for your regular board meeting. So at that point, if a member wanted to make a motion to pull it or amend the agenda, certainly do that.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up, because I'm seeing more of procrastination to bring stuff up. If you realize that something's going wrong, you should address it then. There's nothing wrong with going directly to him and says, hey, I see something that I don't like, can we have a conversation? Instead of going around and pulling a group, because again, like I shared, I didn't like the way we did what we did. I didn't think it was a good thing as far as cohesive for the board. So thank you.
This is giving him time to correct it.
If we would've told him in advance, this would've never been brought up possibly.
I thought I asked the question
You
before I
did.
left. Was there any more questions?
And there wasn't until you left.
So when would this, so if they vote for the audit, what timeline are we talking about? Because we're in the process of a demerger, so are we talking about now? Are we talking later? What are we talking about?
I believe
Is there a
how
date?
it is spelled out in the proposal is it commences once we engage them
So if you vote when we return, we start it then?
based on what we've been provided today. Or based on
Does
what's
no
been
one see that as a problem
I do.
after what we just talked about? Okay,
I do.
no problem.
I see it. I do, Dr. Ellis.
Everybody's got to make a decision.
Anybody else comment before we move on? Next item on the agenda, we'll call Mrs. Saunders up, and she has 3 budget items
Yes, sir.
and then also a contract review.
All right. Good evening again. All right, so the first one I'll talk about is the audit contract. This is our annual contract for our auditors to audit us for the fiscal year that we're in right now. They will come in a couple of months. They have already started the work on our, what's the word, excuse me. The compliance portion. They've already started the compliance portion, and this is their contract to do our whole year. So what I'm asking is for this to be approved to go to the full board.
Any questions, comments from Mrs. Saunders in regards to approval of the auditor contract?
I have a question. When was the last time we put this out to bid?
I don't have an answer for that, but I know we have been with these auditors for quite a while.
Donovan, are you done? I mean,
Yeah, he had his hand in there.
Chris.
too.
I mean, if you got more, go ahead.
Well, no, I didn't. I was just curious, cause I know periodically when we have a group, they're very, very good, do exactly what we need, or we might need to look at possibly making some other arrangements or changes. So I don't know where that is, and I was curious as how long they've been with us.
I can find out.
You have an estimate, Ms. Sanders, how long?
So for as long as I've been here, they've been here. So that is 2014, that's 10. But there could have been a bid within that time and they could have won it. So until I able to look, I wouldn't know exactly.
I don't think that so many can do it because you have to have a certain license to the school systems.
And they do a lot of the state itself.
They do the
It's
majority.
other smaller firms, but we haven't gone with any of them.
I would just like,
Oh.
yeah, I would just like for reference, I think in all the years that I've been on this board, we've only changed auditors once. And that was, we changed that at that point, and I think that might have been, I was thinking 10. But if it's been 14 years, the reason for the switch was we wanted to try someone new because the one we'd had been our auditor for so many years.
Same situation. A similar situation.
Right.
Any other questions? Oh,
So help me get my mind on this. They're already doing the audit, and what is this contract for?
So
Work
they
they
have
do.
begun requesting information for the compliance portion. So this contract is for the full year, for 2024. When he did reach out to me and say, hey, here's the contract, because they want to get a lot of their work done beforehand. They did, I let him know that it was already past my submission. I couldn't bring it to the March meeting. I couldn't bring it to March. So they have begun working or looking at our information for 2024.
So if we approve this contract, they will do the 23-24 school year.
Yes, sir.
From July to June, right?
Not to June. See, they come and do their main portion around October, November. So this is for them coming to us in October.
Okay. So if we did want to find another vendor, you'd have to not approve this contract, right? I think that would be, make sure I got if we approve this contract, then you're done. You've got
For
them
23,
through
24.
October. If you were looking at finding another firm, this would be the contract we wouldn't approve, right?
Yes,
That makes sense?
it does.
We'd have to get the bidding process, wouldn't we, have to start the,
Cause like Ella said, to my knowledge, you only have like 4 firms in the state that can do this, so it shouldn't be that hard to.
That's
good.
correct.
Too, so since it's a service contract, it's not required to be bid. That doesn't mean a district can't bid it. But there is a approved list from the local government commission for the firms who can do this work. My understanding is this firm handles districts in this part of the state and has done it for a
We
while.
wouldn't have to do a bid, we could just pick.
That's correct. With any service contract, there's no requirement. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's not required.
Yeah, I think that.
Ms. Bullock?
Listening to the conversation, I think we had this very same conversation as well 14 years ago. And I think the way we solved that problem was that we let the auditor do the contract that year, but to let finance know and the superintendent know that come next year, we wanted to bid or look at other companies. He's already started for this year because that's what they do. So if he's already started, I think it would be well fitting if we let the administration know that come next year for the auditing period, we would like to have information on additional firms so that we can make a decision as to whether we want to keep this one or move to someone else.
I agree with Bullock. I think it would be kind of crazy in the middle of demerger. It's gonna take place July to look at new auditing firms at this time, but by next year, we should have a clean slate.
are there concerns with this company or what? I'm just asking. I didn't know.
Some.
Reference.
I think, one, length of time, sometimes when you do things for 10+ years, you get complacent. And I think in light of some of the things that we've seen here recently, we're a little bit concerned that some of their work, my concern is some of their work is pushed to interns. It's a little bit more talking than it is reviewing, and that's just a little bit concerning to me. So with the time and maybe the quality of work that we're seeing from them, and I think if the board chooses to stay with this firm, I think finance needs to have a very strong conversation with them that I want a good audit.
Understand.
My opinion on it. I'm just not hearing complacency in their job. I guess that's the way to put it.
And that could go back to specific questions that you can ask the superintendent. Right. Closed session.
All right, I feel like a lot of discussion around this one, but let's go ahead and, if I can get a motion, I guess, to approve the contract for our current auditors.
Second.
First, we have a second. All those, I'll call the vote, I guess, again on this one. Dr. Chavis,
Yes.
Mrs. Bullock,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
and I'm a no, but 3-1 to take that to committee or take that to the board in 2 weeks. All All right, Ms. Saunders, keep rolling on with your budget items.
All right, so now I'm gonna move forward to the budget amendments for this fiscal year. I have amendments for Fund One, State, Fund Two, Local, Fund Three, Federal, 4 and 8, Capital Outlay and Donations and Grants. I hope you were able to review them, and I stand here to hold any questions, but I would like for these to be approved to go to the full board as well.
Okay, these are all part of your packet. I hope you, like she said, had a chance to review these. Any questions from the committee or other board members before we call the vote on these amendments? Hearing none, I make the motion to approve as submitted as a recommendation to the board. Is there a second?
Second.
Franklin's second. All those in favor, please vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
All right, and the last item that I have is the local current expense proposed budget for fiscal year 25. And this is indeed the budget that we intend on taking forward to, Dr. Ellis intends on taking forward to the county. In this budget, Tremaine, if you don't mind bringing that up, thank you so much. You'll see the difference, while losing Edgecombe County, that 2,228,000 right there, that's about a 10% decrease of our local current expense budget, right? So for all of the PRCs that are housed within this local fund, the easiest thing to do upfront was a 10% cut. We know that that is not exactly how it will fizzle out and work. But right here, being fair, until more information is known of what we will get from the county or any additional help, it's best to make it fair, and it's 10% down, because otherwise there wouldn't have been a change to the local budget without this demerger.
Okay,
So, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So, this also Dr. Ellis would like to take this to the full board for approval.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions on these changes for what our local money is gonna look like post-demerger? Did y'all get as much in here as you could? Are we asking for enough?
So that's not included in here.
Okay.
This is what we know,
Gotcha.
right? So until we know what we will get, that's why each of the departments are hit equally at this time.
Sure, I got you, laid out like that. Any questions? If not, I make a motion to accept this or approve this as a recommendation for our full board at our next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Saunders, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I adjourn, I mean, a lot of weighty issues here, a lot of things that are gonna impact us as a district, a lot of things impacting us as a board. Anybody need to question or comment before we wrap any of this up? If not, if there is nothing else for this committee, I will stand us adjourned at this time.
And I certainly echo Mr. Denton's comments. If there's no further business to come before this board on this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the committee meetings. Moved by Mr. Bissett.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. E. Bullock, Board Member E. Bullock. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Hey, Tremaine,